You know, I try to make these things as short as possible. I try to keep these things down to 10 minutes. If it goes over 10 minutes, I apologize. So we're going to talk a little bit about the law. And really, this is tips for apartment security 3. And what I'm really trying to get you to do, the tip is you need to learn how to research the law. That's the tip. That's what this whole video is about. It's not me telling you what laws and what's this. Is kind of, you need to learn how to look up the laws, and these are maybe some laws that you want to look up. That's the tip. So, and I'm assuming that you're watching these videos because you want to do a little bit more. And once again, I'll preface everything. You can only do as much as the contract says, as long as the contract doesn't exceed what the law says that you can do, unless you want to take on all that liability by yourself and absolutely have no shield. Because once you step outside of the contract, whatever paper thin protection that affords you, it will simply evaporate if you go outside your duties. Okay, so citizen's arrest, or what Michigan calls it, the ability to arrest as a private person. So what can you do? Can you arrest for misdemeanors? Can you arrest for felonies? Under what conditions can you make those arrests? Do you know what an arrest is? Do you know the difference between an arrest and taking someone into custody? If you take someone into custody, do you know your responsibilities once you've taken a person into custody? Do you know do you know what I want to say false arrest. Do you know what the standard is for a false arrest? Do you know what the standard is for kidnapping? There's something else in there, and I just can't remember the language. But if you start to look this up, you'll find it. Do you know the difference between a misdemeanor and a felony? Do you know? And I mean, when I say the difference between a misdemeanor and a felony, let's take assault and battery. Do you know at which point an assault and battery turns into, in your state, goes from being a misdemeanor to a felony, or a felony to a misdemeanor? Do you know these things? Breaking and entering, robbery. These things that you might come across. Do you know when they cross the threshold from being a misdemeanor to a felony? So there's those things. What is criminal trespass, and how is it defined in your state? What can you do about criminal trespass? Can you criminal trespass a resident? Can you criminally trespass a non-resident who's on the property to visit a resident? Can you do those things? Can you turn a tow truck driver around who's come to repossess someone's vehicle on that property? In Georgia, you can. Do you know what an ordinance is? I'll give you my interpretation of an ordinance. Ordinance is basically a rule of municipality. A rule of the municipality, whether that municipality be a town, a village, a city, or a county. What it isn't is a state law. So, noise complaints, you can't enforce them. Curfews, you can't enforce them. You can't enforce any rules. Only laws, only state laws, not federal laws, state laws. The laws of your state, in general. I've never seen a citizen's arrest that would allow you to arrest for anything other than a state law, not a federal law, not a city ordinance, none of those things. So how do you look up anything? Well, the great thing about the legal system is, you're not going to use your legal opinion. You're going to use someone else's legal opinion. Someone who was hired and specifically put into a position where they can interpret laws where their legal opinion matters, and really no one gives a fuck about yours. And that's how you want. That's what you kind of want to do. You want to use someone else's legal opinion. So, Statute 179.123 of the Michigan compiled laws for assault and battery says by statute that this is this. Now, I don't know if that's correct, because I'm just pulling that number out my ass. Says, misdemeanor battery is this, it may say misdemeanor battery is this, it may say felonious battery is this, or it may specifically just talk about misdemeanors. Then you have to find the code for felony battery, and they'll tell you what a felony battery is. But once you have that code, then I want you to do the 179.123 Michigan compiled laws, MCL, and then I want you to put in the word case law. And with case law, you will start to read cases, federal cases, state cases concerning those laws. A lot may come up, a few may come up. Case law in your state, number one, if there's federal law that pertains to your case coming out of district court, that may take precedent over that state case law coming from another state. You could cite it, but I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a lawyer, so everything I tell you, you should absolutely look up. You should take no one's word for it. Not police, not a lawyer, not a guy. Should absolutely look it up. Absolutely look it up every time, so you can determine whether or not someone's blowing smoke up your ass. And so you don't have to use anyone else's opinion. The judge is going to, and the case may have to do with a drug case, and there was a fight during the drug case, and somebody challenged this, and this. And you'll just read the case law, and it'll come down to this one code, this one section that you're looking for. And that judge will kind of define for you his opinion or her opinion, will kind of define, what misdemeanor battery is, or what felony battery is, or what this is, or what that is. And you can read all these judges' opinions, and you should be able to come up with a pretty good idea of what's what. Now, I can't tell you, I can't tell you. Listen, I can't be responsible for how well you read, and how well you comprehend, and how well you interpret any information. You should do it fairly conservatively. And really, I'm not advising you to do anything but to look up the law, and just kind of giving you some general things that you should look up. Citizen's arrest. What's a misdemeanor? What's a felony? What's a city ordinance? What's an intent crime? What's a specific intent? What's general intent? How do those crimes differ? Telling you how to look up. I just gave you an example of how to look up case law. The code, the state, and then case law. And just start to read. You should do these things fairly conservatively. No one's interested in your opinion. Use the opinions of the people who get paid to have opinions and make those calls. And really, that's the only tips that I have. Oh, tort law. Yeah, you should know about contracts as opposed to residential leasing, because sometimes those laws may differ, and so you should be generally aware of federal law and then the state laws specifically in your state, and there may be even some county things. And not that you're really going to enforce too much, but you need a general understanding. And then sometimes you can explain some things to people when they're just not doing what they're supposed to do. I'm going to make a video about specific language and why you should use very specific language to establish basically intent and some other things. So I guess this video is over. I don't think I have too much to say other than you need to start to look up the law and be familiar with the laws, what you can do, what you can't do. And then, you know, I guess what activates your Wonder Twin powers, because if you can't arrest for misdemeanors, but you can for felonies, you need to know that threshold. You need to know that threshold, or you'll find yourself having a problem because you weren't able to do it. So 2 kids or 2 adults get into a fist fight, that may be just a misdemeanor. But 2 guys get into a fist fight, and then one guy kind of can't defend himself anymore, and he's getting mollywopped like you wouldn't believe. That may take it from a misdemeanor to a felony. Or somebody picks up a shoe and hits him in the head with a shoe, that may take it from a misdemeanor to a felony. Or some bouncer trying to get around some rules and laws, it's got 3 rings on his fingers with points on them, you know, may take something that may have been a simple battery or a misdemeanor battery into a felonious assault, especially given his position. But you know, those are those things, and those are the things that you kind of need to know. And that is the actual tip, that you need to start looking up the laws for very specific things that you need to know. What is trespass? What is trespass? Is there a difference between trespass and criminal trespass? What are those standards? What are those thresholds? Once again, what is a misdemeanor? What is a felony? What can I do as a citizen to arrest? You know what? Hold on. I also want you to look up duty of care. I want you to look up reasonable man. Because believe it or not, you owe people a duty of care. There's reasonable man. Do you know the difference between an arrest and taking someone into custody? Do you know your responsibilities when you take someone into custody? So, this department security tip, or the security tip in general, is look up the law for yourself. Don't let anyone tell you the law, including the police, the lawyers, the judges. Look it up. Read it. Read the case law. And so that you can challenge anything that anyone might tell you, or you can inquire, you can ask some questions to get a better interpretation, to get a better understanding of what you can and cannot do, what's legal, what's permissible, and what's illegal and not permissible, so you can do the one thing that you really need to do from day one: cover your ass. And at that, we're at the 14-minute mark, and I'm done.